Hey guys, it's Monday. 3 hours on the turbo now and then head to the gym later. It's looking nice for the rest of the week, so wasn't too concerned about getting on the turbo today, as I'll be able to get out most days this week, I reckon, which will be nice. A little bit chilly still, but just need to layer up because it's looking like it'll be nice sunshine. Not using a power meter outdoors at the moment, so doing at least one indoor ride a week. Give me sanity check what my power's looking like, just dual recording this ride, trying something different where got the kicker core connected to my head unit and then the Asioma on my whoosh, so the opposite way around to normal. And I'm just experimenting with that because I think for my high torque sessions, I think I want to do them all on the turbo for consistency reasons, and be able to adjust the resistance of the trainer on the fly, and I do that by connecting directly to the head unit, because I'm not sure if erg mode or increasing the resistance of the trainer is going to be the best way to do torque work. I think increasing the resistance of the trainer is the best way. Erg mode's a bit unreliable based on last year, but yeah, to be able to tune it on the fly, I don't want to be structuring a workout on my whoosh to have to follow that, because if something changes, then I'm kind of stuck. So yeah, this works well with recording the Asioma on my whoosh, so I have something pretty to look at. Uncanny Valley to look at, more like. This world is pretty though. Going up a snowy old hill. Very nice.
There was an explosion.
Trying to make some geometry changes on the TCR this morning. Was going to put the spacers back under the stem, so raise up the handlebars, and I think that should be able to actually get me in a more aggressive position, as just based on the angle of my arms. I think having a slam stem isn't the way to go for this bike, just because I'm looking at geometry changes I want to have on a new bike. And I thought I killed the TCR this morning, but managed to fix it. It was like the compression bung had got stuck inside the steerer tube, but yeah, I managed to get it out, and I'll reassemble the bike with the spacers back in place. Don't know what it is about this bike, but like it chews through headset bearings. So like, even though the conditions I've been riding it in have been really good due to having this external battery and having an issue with corrosion before, like there's still just dirt that gets into the steerer tube based on the last like probably 4 months of riding it, just in all good weather. It's like really strange that it's because there's a bit of a gap at the bottom when the steerer tube's in place. So like dirt, gunk just built up there. Thankfully the bearings are still decently well, even though they were covered in muck. But so yeah, funny little bike. Probably getting a new one in the next few weeks. 40-minute recovery ride on the turbo. Yeah, the turbo's been really weird. It's like the resistance isn't kicking in properly. I used it yesterday where I controlled it from the head unit instead, and I noticed it did the same thing a couple of days ago on when I hopped on my whoosh or Zwift. I think it should still work if I control the resistance from the head unit, but if I'm controlling it to if it's being controlled by Zwift or my whoosh, it's just clearly not communicating properly at the moment. Yeah, maybe I have to connect to my Asioma. Whatever. Playing around with position work on this TCR to get an idea of geometry I want for my next bike, and I thought I had an idea of what to do where I want to kind of go short reach, really stacked and compact together. But then I was thinking the old school approach of long slammed and long seems also viable, because like I do the puppy paws position where you're resting your forearms on the handlebars, and that gets me into like a quite conventional time trial position, and that looks good. And then when I'm trying to replicate that, I'm like, okay, how am I gonna replicate that? And the way to do that seems to be just to have your handlebars really far forward. But yeah, need to continue having to think about that, because that approach is old school, and need to continue having to think if it kind of feels like there's two polar opposites. Like the in the middle ground is probably not the way to go, and it feels like my current bike. I'd either be faster on a bike that was the next size up or the next size down, and then the one in the middle is slower, which sounds very weird because you either go to this really compact position or this quite stretched out position, both of which are more aerodynamic than the one in between. But yeah, continue thinking about that. I'll compare the stack and reach of my Planet X, which is clearly too small for me, and I'll ride when I'm riding that tomorrow. I'll be having to think about if the stack geometry is the way to go, or maybe get a frame that's even bigger than my current TCR. Hey guys, it's Wednesday. I'm sat on the bike for 3 hours doing some zone 2 today. Pretty standard stuff. Bit of a tight left hamstring. Just noticed it got tight yesterday after my gym session. Obviously did some relatively heavy deadlifts, but yeah, hopefully it's just fatigue DOMS type thing rather than, but we'll see. Feels alright on the bike, so it's all alright. My sprinty boy. Oh, give me those legs. Let's ride that. Good 3 and a bit hours. Hey guys, it's Thursday. Just out for 2 hours zone 2 today. Super foggy. Wasn't like this when I left. Almost home now, so 10 minutes. 2 and a bit hours on the bike. Good stuff. Hey guys, it's Friday. Lovely afternoon to be out on the bike. Been out for like getting on 2 hours now. Be out for 3 and a bit total. Yeah, enjoyed it so far. Look at lovely skies. Like the sun breaking through the skies, looking well nice. It was all blue skies this morning, but this is nice as well. It's not too cold either, even though it's overcast. Try not to fall over. Quite a hard ride this. It's kind of like the last hard. It's like the hardest day of a 4-week block. It's the 3rd day on of the 3rd week. Next week, 4th week is going to be a rest week. So this is kind of the most overloaded week and overloaded day of the week based on the cumulative training. I've had a bit of a tight left hamstring. That seems to have cleared up, but feeling like some niggles in my left side. See how they are at the gym this evening. Hey guys, it's Saturday. 1 hour recovery ride on the turbo today. As I mentioned, yesterday was kind of the hardest day of the 4-week block. Just the way it's structured, like being the 3rd week and the last day of the 3-day block in that week. It's got the most training behind it and the most training on that day. So I did like 3 hours, 20 minutes on the bike, plus 1 hour and 40 at the gym. So 5 hours of solid training. And yeah, when I got out on the bike, I'm like, felt all these niggles in my left side, but they ironed out over the course of the day. And then on my way back from the gym, I'm like, okay, I just have like general soreness all over my body rather than like some minor little thing. And I felt like I had a bit of a left hamstring strain, but that ironed itself out over the course of a couple of days, and now it just feels like general DOMS type soreness that you'd expect after going relatively hard in the gym. So yeah, happy because obviously pushing it a little bit, but then I'm going to be giving myself that time to recuperate over the next week with a bit of a down week. Still got 2 sessions at the gym, but they're going to be like half volume on my main working sets, and then volume for the week's going to be a bit down as well. That'll be good going into week 60, going into week 64, where training is going to ramp up a little bit, where I'm going to be doing some more on the bike specific work with sprinting and high torque work. So I need to finalize that training program before I start there, because I made that video on my preliminary training plan for 2025, 2024, 2025, but there's a couple of things that I need to add. So I like make the V2 version of that PDF and that slideshow, and I've also got a spreadsheet put together of all the intervals I want to be doing, so I can track them over the course of the year to see that I'm improving and what I'm doing is working, and if it's not, then might need to rethink and readjust the plan. But yeah, just now spin on the turbo today. I've noticed this a couple of times this weekend and last week, that my whoosh being a bit funny, like it's not communicating properly with my kicker. I updated the kicker firmware today. It's not communicating with the kicker to increase the resistance, so I can just spin it out and I can't get above 200 watts. And I only noticed this after I connected it to my head unit, the kicker. But yeah, tried disconnecting them so that it's not interfering with that communication pathway, but still being a bit funny. So just controlling the kicker from my head unit, and then I've got my SEM on my whoosh, but the cadence is dropping out constantly. 0 RPM, then it flicks in, and that will drop off again. Yeah, my whoosh not being so reliable. It's been all right, but I use it quite a lot, and it's generally been okay. But for whatever reason, it's not working very well now. So might try out Indie Velo or even Ruby, see what those are like. Because obviously, it coming into winter, like I am going to be spending some more time on the turbo, so play around with those different platforms, see if they behave a bit better. Maybe I'll have to go to the dark side, pay my Zwift subscription. Hey guys, it's Sunday on the turbo for probably 3.5 hours today, hour and 45 into it now. Yeah, I was originally planning on getting out on the road bike for around 4 hours, but left it a little bit late in the day, and there was cleaned my bike yesterday, and there was kind of something I wanted to do it before I get out riding again, like the brake pads. They haven't got aluminium in them, but they've got these little dents in them, so I want to change the brake pads, and I've also got disc brake cleaner that I'll use for the alloy rims to clean them up. Like as the brake pads stand, like they're not gonna bite into the rim and do anything bad. But it's just something I wanted to do, but didn't get around to. Didn't have the time to do it yesterday. With winter being coming, it's like November now, definitely less sunlight in the day, so me leaving it a bit late, I'm like, if I do this, it'll take me half an hour, and then I'm getting out and it's like getting dark, and it's not exactly lovely weather. You're like, oh, I need to get out. And thankfully the weather's looking like around the same, like this overcast fogginess rest of the week, so I'll be able to get out next week. And so not too concerned about having to go on the turbo today. Also gives me the opportunity to work on some positioning stuff, so playing around with saddle setback. Changed the orientation of the bracket on my TCR for the first time, so you can flip it between 2 slots and it shifts the saddle like 2 centimeters further forward. So I got the saddle, I used to have it on the back slot and the saddle slammed far forward. Now I've moved it to the other slot and the saddle slammed backwards on the rails, but it's about the same. But now I can experiment with going even more over the bottom bracket if I think that's more advantageous to getting into an aero position. So I'll give a film with that in a minute. Also going to play around with, just now going to do some like a warm up and then some test efforts to work out how best to do the torque efforts, where if I set the resistance on the Wahoo, or see if erg mode works at all. I know erg mode didn't really work well for it when I did it last year, but maybe it's different. I've got my whoosh open, but it's connected to my Asioma as I try and connect it to. I also tried using the Indivelo, so the Training Peaks just acquired Indivelo, and now it's Training Peaks Virtual. And I was having the same issue where the resistance from the trainer just wasn't communicating properly. I think that's because it's connected to the Wahoo, and even when I disconnected the kicker core from my Wahoo, it was still being funny. And so yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but at least I can control the resistance from my head unit and actually pedal without spinning out the trainer and not being able to do anything. Got my Schnackis, a bit healthier than pure sugar water. Another benefit to riding inside, don't fuck up my teeth as much. Just played around with some low cadence, high torque efforts there, and erg mode adjusting on the Wahoo seems to work quite well, which is good because it means I just have to control for cadence rather than controlling power and cadence simultaneously. Obviously in the real world, like, you need to be able to do that, but it'll make the efforts more consistent. But I can do it by upping the resistance and controlling for both if I decide I don't want to go the erg mode route. But basically I've got both options, so that's good to see. They felt hard. I was just doing like 1 minute efforts, like 400 watts, sub 50 RPM. Yeah, they'll be good. I'd say when resistance is being controlled by another app, like my Whoosh or Zwift, sprinting does feel really good. However, I've found a way to up the resistance and get an idea of what resistance, what gear to be in to get a good sprint, because if I want to adjust on the fly for those high torque efforts, then I need to be controlling it from the Wahoo, the head unit. So planning it out. Also gonna adjust my data fields because I mean I've got torque on there, but it's jumping all over the place. It's not giving a useful value at all, and I know what torque I'm aiming for based on the power and cadence, so I just look at those instead rather than my torque that's showing the correct value, then half the correct value, and flip-flopping. It's like, what use is that to me?